Hey everybody, we are live. Welcome to another edition of Boston Straight Shooters. I'm one of the hosts, Steve, aka Negative Ned. The other host, Frank, hopefully will be joining us momentarily. He asked me to kick things off and wait for him, or whatever, start without him. Hold the fort down without him. He'll be hopefully joining soon. This is the show we talk about Boston sports. We talk about the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Patriots. And we're going to get you all caught up on the goings on over the last week. Bear with me while I make a feeble attempt at posting the link so you guys can join the show if you'd like. And actually, we'd love it if you did. So let's, while we wait for Frank, I'm going to start with the Bruins because it looks like they are narrowing their coaching search. It looks like the top three. There's three top candidates: Marco Sturm, Jay Woodcroft, and Mitch Love. So, Marco Sturm used to play for the Bruins back in the day. He's been an assistant coach with the Los Angeles Kings for the last number of years, and he led Germany to a medal in the 2018 Olympics. Jay Woodcroft was the coach of the Edmonton Oilers until he was fired last year after a 3-9-1 start. But the previous 2 years, I think he took them past the second round of the playoffs. So he's a guy I'd be interested in. And then Mitch Love, he's an assistant coach with the Washington Capitals. He has been credited with he'd been credited with fixing their defense and so forth. Fixing their penalty kill, getting them near the top of the league and so forth. So excuse me while I fight through the technical difficulty I'm dealing with here. All right, I can't, for some reason, I'm not able to see anybody's comments. So I'll just keep trying to move along here. This is not working out the way I want. Well, of course, what else is new? If it wasn't for no luck or bad luck, I wouldn't have any. Let me try this and see if this is any better. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Let's try this. All right. Okay, so listen, those three coaching candidates. I think Marco Sturm was due to come back sometime this week for another round of interviews. I don't know what's going to happen there. He's the front runner from what I keep reading. He would not be my front runner. My front runner would be Mitch Love. We're talking about a Bruins team that has prided itself on defense over the last 15 or so years. The defense this year was terrible. The penalty killing was terrible. Yeah, I know, Danny. It does sound like it's going to be Marco Sturm, but I'm not too keen on that. But if you want to get a guy that's done a good job with fixing defense and penalty killing at the NHL level, the guy for me would be Love. And throw him in here and see what he can do. Although, Marco Sturm does have a track record of working with the young guys between the Olympics and the farm system with the Kings. So maybe they're looking at him because of all the young guys that they, traded for and the draft picks they're going to have coming up over the next few years. And also probably because he's probably going to be cheap, which is another sticking point that I'm sure that they're going to hop on or whatever. It's they're not going to spend big bucks or very long term. I'd be surprised if they offered the coach more than 3 years and more than like $3 million a year or whatever. I don't see them going big bucks for Sturm, or they would have been in on Rick Tocchet Mike Sullivan or Peter Laviolette, let the more known name guys that they should be going after. So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. It should be coming soon, I would think, with the draft coming up, at the end of June. Get him in here and get him in the fold, and see what happens. Again, still to be determined what they're going to do at the draft. Danny Cannell, who's a member of our group, mentioned that Pavel Zacha is rumored to be on the trade block. I would be interested to see what they could get back for him. Maybe they Marco Rossi. I don't know who that is. I guess I got some homework to do. But whoever it is, is Zacha going to be a part of that deal with some draft picks? Can they make a trade with another team for a guy that's a top 6 forward that will actually help the Bruins? That's a decent guy. And so that's yet to be seen. I don't know what their options are yet right now. So, to be determined. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about that. And quickly, also, I do want to mention USA won the gold medal at the World Championships. I don't know if it's the International Federal Hockey League or whatever the hell it is that they have this tournament. But the USA won the gold medal for the first time since 1933, and Jeremy Swayman backboned them with a 7-0 record, a 1.69 goals against average, and he got shut out in the last game when they won 1-0 in overtime. And so it looks like he got himself back on track in that tournament, which is encouraging to see if you're looking at like he might be going to look like upcoming this year. Because if he doesn't get his head screwed on straight, he's going to be a puddle, and it's not going to be good for the Bruins. So I just wanted to mention that he had a strong tournament, and hopefully he can bring that into training camp with him. Come in with a fresh camp after the signing the big contract, and hopefully he's got his head screwed on straight. He said that the tournament rejuvenated him as an individual and helped him find his game again. He's got a lot of confidence, and look, he's going to need that. Last year was really a mess for him, and I was really disappointed in his play last year. A lot of people around here were, I'm sure, and I'm sure he's aware of it. So listen, when you're paying a guy $8 million, he needs to play like an $8 million goalie and not an $8 goalie. So they're going to have to, again, I tried to, not cover for him, but, give him the benefit of the doubt and be like, hey, the goalie's only as good as the 5 guys in front of him. And the Bruins were horrible last year, pretty much all around. So no options for, and there were games where he was kind of not that good either. But, the way that they're building the team this year, they need to make a vast improvement defensively in order for him to be as good as he was 2 years ago. There's no way that he's going to steal every single game. It's impossible. They can steal some games, but they can't steal. He can't stand on his head every single game. They got to do a much better job defensively, and hopefully having Hampus Lindholm, and McAvoy back, and hopefully they'll be back for the whole season. Will help them, and it's still going to be a struggle for them this year. If anybody's expecting them to turn it around, just jump in and make the playoffs right away again, and be a top team, it doesn't really work that way. I think that they're still going to be, if they're anywhere near a playoff spot, it'll be like 9th, 10th, in that range, and maybe they'll get lucky and surprise us. but yet to be seen. But encouraging news coming from the World Tournament there with the USA and Jeremy Swayman. So and you know what too? Again, I have mentioned a number of times on here, and I'll continue to mention it. Nobody is untouchable except for Pasternak, and so maybe that tournament also, Jeremy Swayman could be used as a trade chip, and maybe that will increase his value, what they can get back. I would not be opposed to that. I know that people are like, oh my God, you're trading him, he's the future and this and that. But you know what? They have two guys in Providence that are going to be free agents that stepped up last year. DiPietro was one of the top goalies in the Providence in the AHL. And so I wouldn't be afraid to give him or Brandon Bussi, both those guys, bring them up here. You still have Korpisalo under contract, for $3 million, which is pretty cheap. I would not be opposed to trading Swayman, provided they don't have to eat too much of his salary. I mean, I could see eating $2 million, but not half for 7 years. That'd be suicide at that point. That's not even worth trying to trade him. I mean, I see the same thing happening when they tried to trade Allmark. Teams lowballed the Bruins, and they weren't willing to give them full value for a guy that won the Vezina Trophy. And so if they're not willing to give full value for Swayman, then I wouldn't bother. I'd just hang on to him and suffer with whatever consequences are going to happen, because you just can't give away, you can't lose in a trade like that too badly. I mean, that's just suicide for your franchise. So anyway, let's switch gears here. Let's talk about the Red Sox. There's plenty to dissect there. I am not happy with them at all. And I know if Frank was on, he would definitely not be happy with them. They are just an absolute mess right now. They've lost 5 in a row. They're struggling to hit with runners in scoring position. They're still making errors. They're still making base path blunders. They're infused with too many young guys now are coming in, I think, due to injury. And the pitching staff, the bullpen's blowing up lately. They're not able to give what they need in order for us to win games. The starters are not giving them quality starts other than Crochet. And so, the whole thing is just a recipe for disaster. And, Alex Cora, I mentioned last week that maybe he's complacent because of who he has on the roster and, the analytics and so forth. His hands being tied. I just feel that, he's a better manager than this. And I don't know what the fix is. I mean, I'm looking at the lineup in the last 3 games. You have Christian Campbell hitting cleanup, and the guy's batting .220 overall. He's 8 for his last 75. He's hitting like a .08 in the last 75 at bats, and he's hitting cleanup. That's wrong. There's a problem there. He should not be hitting cleanup. That he's already learning on the job as it is. He's the last guy I'd be putting there. And then, look at yesterday's lineup, and Marcelo Maya, who they just brought up, is playing third. He's supposed to be a shortstop. He's not even playing third or second. Short or second. He's playing third, and he's hitting cleanup yesterday. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this lineup, those kids should not be put in that spot. They are not cleanup hitters. Cleanup hitter to me is Manny Ramirez, 40 home runs, 100 and something RBI. These guys are not that, and they're not going to learn on the job while you're in a slump. That to me is poor management. I don't blame upper management for that. I think Alex Cora, and we've seen this a number of times now, he's afraid to shift Devers from second in the lineup. And I'm sorry, you got to move some things around at the top of the lineup. And Devers should be hitting third, in my opinion. When Bregman was hitting third, fine. But to me, Devers should be hitting third, and Bregman should be hitting fourth, and somebody else should be hitting second. That to me is a waste. Those guys, the protection or lack of protection that they have in the lineup. You put Marcelo Meyer and Christian Campbell fourth after who? I mean, that's stupid. If you're going to put anybody fourth at this point, I would put Willie Abreu fourth, because at least he's got home runs. He's leading the team in home runs with 13. He's fourth in RBI. He's got walks. I think he's got 23 walks. He can get on base. I mean, give me that, and never mind with the stupid. We don't like the left. Too many lefties in the lineup. Well, too many of them in a row. But who cares? You can't take a guy that's hitting a .05 and stick him fourth just because he's right-handed. You got your head up your rear end there, dude. The lineup to me would look a lot different if it was me. I can tell you right now that the lineup would be, and there's another thing with, not calling up Roman Anthony now. You have Christian Campbell trying to. There's a whole. I'm getting all screwed up here because the whole thing's just all off track. They're trying to have Christian Campbell learn how to play first base now. So he's already playing second base. He's already played center field or left field or both. And now he's trying to play first base. And I saw something early before we came on that Alex Cora projects him to be the first baseman Sunday when they're in Atlanta. So now he's playing first. So what does that mean for the two guys they have here that are playing first, Sogard and Toro? One of those guys going to get sent back down. Sogard maybe sent back to Worcester. And are they going to call up Roman Anthony now to play the outfield? Who's playing second base if he's playing first? David Hamilton? How long is that going to last? He's hitting like 0.85, and he's still making errors. Can't make routine plays. I'm sorry. That's old. I've been watching him for 2 years. I'm tired of watching him. I mean, at this point, if you're going to keep getting the young guys on the job, bring up Roman Anthony, stick him in center field, put Rafael at second, and put Campbell at first. And the lineup for me would be Duran in left, Devers at DH, Navarre is the catcher, hitting third. This is all while Bregman's out now. I would have Abreu hitting fourth, and I would put Roman Anthony fifth, because the guy's hitting over 300. He's got 8 homers in AAA. And if you think he's that ready, you need protection in the lineup, I would just put him. I don't care about the lefty-righty nonsense. Forget that crap. And then I would put Marcelo Meyer next. He's playing third. Campbell at first. Story, I would put him at the bottom of the lineup. Never forget hitting him sixth or fifth or sixth. Forget that. It's not working. He's hitting 200. He's hitting like 120 over the last, 80 plate appearances. He's not doing jack. I'd put him eighth, and I'd put Rafael at ninth and have him at second base. And that's what I would do for right now while Bregman is out. And I haven't seen or heard a timetable for when he's coming back. I don't know if it's a 2-week injury, a month injury. When you strain a quad muscle, that can probably linger. So, they're not firing on all cylinders at all. And if one thing works, something else doesn't. They're near the top of the league in strikeouts as a team, hitting-wise. I think they're third. 13 strikeouts in a game, 10 strikeouts in a game, 16 strikeouts in a game. They're double digits. I think they're leading the league in games with double-digit strikeouts as an offense. That's horrible. And we touched on this last week. I'm going to keep pounding it, because these driveline analytic, goons they have that are driving this, people want the hitting coach fired. Okay, you get the next hitting coach. You still have the driveline guys telling him, okay, this is how we teach everybody. This is the system we use. This is how it's going to work. It doesn't matter who they're freaking hit. You can have Ted Williams for the hitting coach. If you're not going to let the guy teach the guys the right way how to hit and hit line drives and use, work the counts and use the opposite field and the whole, pushing runners along in the whole 9 yards and small ball, have them continue to use the analytics and, launch angle and spin rate and also, bat speed and all this other happy horse bleep. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the hitting coach is. Don't fire him. He's not the issue. The issue is Breslow and these driveline analytic crap. That's the main issue. And until they get rid of those guys and get their hitting coach to teach these guys how to hit properly, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. And I was just made aware of something the other day on sports radio that I was not aware of with the analytics across all the sports. The analytics don't take the score into the equation. The score and the time remaining in the game is not part of the equation. So this is, and I'm crossing sports here for a little bit. When the Lions were up against San Francisco in the NFC Championship game, and they were going to go up by 10 and kick the field goal, the analytics told them, nope, you go for it here. Doesn't factor in the score or where the game is in the fourth quarter. That's stupid. This is where the coach needs to be able to turn around and say, you know what, screw these analytics. We need to go up by 10 so we can help us ensure this win. And you can take the analytics and shove them. And if you guys want to fight about it later, we will. This is what Alex Cora needs to do. Because I heard something disturbing regarding Crochet, who's the ace pitcher now we have. So apparently against the Mets last week, it was they have the nerd analytics guys, I'm just going to keep calling them that, had some formula where over the course of his last 3 starts, they were only going to allow him to throw 300 pitches. Well, he burned, I don't know, 210 or 220 pitches, maybe 210 pitches over the 2 previous starts. So his pitch count was going to be like 90 or 91, right? And they weren't going to let him go over that. So they're in the game against the Mets. He's in the 6th inning. There's 1 out. He's pitched 5 1/3 innings. He reaches 85 pitches. Cora comes and gets him because of the 300 pitch thing. And Crochet's like looking at him like, what the hell are you doing? Didn't want to come out. Don't blame him. And then after he comes out of the game, the bullpen blows it and they proceed to lose the game. He's your ace. You got to stop with this analytics. Oh, after 300, 100 pitches, that's it. You have to take them out. No. Can you let these guys freaking pitch and try to win some effing games? What are you paying these guys for? You just signed them to an extension. I forget how much it is, but you're paying the guy $100-something million. You're worried about him blowing his arm out. Didn't he already have Tommy John surgery? So if he gets it again, he gets it again. This is the risk with these guys. I'm fed up with this. What the team is costing themselves games. Again, and I brought this up. I actually called sports radio. I said, hey, what if Alex Cora basically said, F these analytic bullcrap. I'm leaving him in there. We need to get through this 6th inning so I can save my bullpen and win this game. What kind of backlash is he going to get for going against the numbers from Breslow? And what kind of meeting are they going to powwow are they going to have with him? Because he basically did what I said Dan Campbell should have done. Said, F these numbers. I'm doing this. We need to win. Instead, I think Alex Cora, and I kind of don't blame him, is throwing his hands in the air and saying, okay, that's the numbers. You guys are driving it. The numbers say this. I'm just going to let the numbers do what they do. And you guys, these are the results you're going to get. You're going to have to live with them. Instead of letting the guy do the job you're paying him $7 million freaking dollars to do. You're paying him $7 million now to manage the team, manage the game. All the managers can't be robots. That's what they want. They want the managers and the coaches to just sit there and be like, oh, yeah, let me look at this. Oh, there's a number here. Like robots. You might as well just put robots everywhere now then. That's the stupidest freaking thing. And I'll bring it up again because I brought it up last week, and I'll keep bringing it up. In 2018, Alex Cora pressed all the right buttons. They won the World Series. His managerial skills were on showcase. Now, all these young guys are being taught launch angle and this and that and all these numbers and all this analytic crap. I'm sorry. It doesn't work everywhere. It just doesn't. It doesn't. Some places they may be able to get, smaller market teams, Tampa Bay. Fine. Use that crap all you want. But I bet you they're really not using it hardcore like we are because they stomped the Red Sox. They kept getting base hit after base hit after base hit after base hit. It was like watching Bugs Bunny, with the guys going around the bases, one hit after the other. I mean, It's stupid. And you're not going to fire Alex Cora now. He's in the first year of a $7 million deal. So if they tank in the first half and they can't make moves and they're out of it and they're not going anywhere, you're not firing Alex Cora. So I don't know what the fix is. He has to fight back harder. Whatever he's dealing with Breslow or whoever. If I was him, I'd be like, look, we're doing it you guys' way. It doesn't work. We're under 500. We keep losing. Will you guys please let me manage the freaking games so we can get back on track and win these games and do something and get in the playoffs? Because to me, everything starts from the top down. The manager he's like a puppet at this point. You're not even allowing him to do his job. What are you paying him $7 million for then? He's a damn good manager. Frank and I said this all last year. At the end of the year, he's going to walk and go to the Dodgers, and they're going to win the World Series. He's going to go somewhere else. He could go to a team right now like Milwaukee that's struggling, even though they beat the snot out of you, and go there, and they'll be in the playoffs in 2 seconds. So I blame management. Somebody there, and what do you bother bringing back Theo for as part of the Fenway Sports Group crap? He's supposed to be, to me, I know maybe he doesn't want to be involved daily, but you know what? Worst case, once a week, he should be involved in a meeting with Breslow and whoever the GMs are and whoever the freaking nerds are and Alex Cora, and all of them should be having a powwow. I don't care if it's a freaking Teams meeting, a Zoom meeting, whatever it is, but all of them should be meeting weekly and discussing, okay, what are you seeing here? Alex, what are you seeing? This is what I see. You need the feedback from the manager. You guys, I don't care if Breslow played. He's a pitcher. Okay? He hasn't been doing a job as a GM long enough. But Theo has. He's been around. He's been to 2 teams, took them both to the World Series and won. One with the Cubs, 2016. Broke 2 curses. If you're not utilizing him more, shame on you. And for that, I'll blame John Henry. You went all the way to Kansas City to talk to Rafael Devers because Devers, spouted off publicly about going back to play third or whatever. If you're serious about winning and getting the franchise back on track, which I don't believe he is, Theo has to be more involved. I'm sorry. He has to be showing Breslow more of the ropes of how it's supposed to work, what you're supposed to do, and how the analytics is supposed to work. It's overkill. The overkill is ridiculous, and it's killing this team, and I'm sorry. And they're not getting enough out of their starters. Brian Bayo hasn't pitched 5 innings at least or more in any start, I don't think. He's had like one start maybe. His last 3 starts is 4 1/3, 4 2/3, 4 2/3. He can't get to the 5th inning. I mean, he's got to give you more. He just does. He has to give more. He just can't. If he can't give you at least 5 innings coming up, I don't care what you're paying him. Send him back to Worcester, and get me another guy, because this is ridiculous. I just think that there's got to be somebody down there that can give you 5 innings minimum. Walker Buehler yesterday or whenever we pitched 4 2/3. I'm like, dude, they got to get more out of the starters, or they're gonna have no pen left. They'll be just like last year. Everybody's gonna be worn out, and you can't run the team this way. You can't. If Brian Bayo's not cutting it, send him down. Give me Cooper Criswell. Can that guy give you 5 innings? Get me something. They need to do something, because this isn't working anymore. There has to be. There's no consequences. There's no accountability. No one's being sat down. Trevor Story, sit him for a game or 2 games. As painful as it is sometimes in the NHL, when a guy struggles, they sit him and they put him in the press box, and they sit him for a game or 2. and let him look and get the overview. Don't be afraid to sit Trevor Story. Don't be afraid to sit Christian Campbell for a game. Why is he hitting freaking cleanup? That's stupid. You can't be afraid to sit guys and put somebody else in that might be hotter. I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get the way the game is being managed around here anymore. So, I don't know what the fix is. I mean, they got to let Alex Cora do his job. They have to. And, I will say this. I'm disappointed still that he hasn't been able to fix the defense with these guys. David Hamilton's been here for 2 years, minimum. He should be better. He's not improving. Christian Campbell, I'll cut him a little bit of slack, but he needs to improve. Like these errors these guys are making, they shouldn't be making them. You got Nick Sogard playing first base. I don't know how long he's been playing there, but he's going to make mistakes now. He doesn't know where to locate his footing to get on the bag to make the plays. I mean, I don't, again, another guy learning on the job. That's no good. Bear with me 1 second here. So, he's not going to be on the hot seat. And for right now, I don't think he should, Alex Cora. But you got to let the guy do his job. I don't like what I'm seeing from any of this. The pitching coach, listen, that's another thing. The whole pitching backwards and using sweepers and breaking stuff. The other teams are whacking the crap out of it. Our guys are getting fastballs thrown at them, and we're not hitting them. And their guys are getting cream puffs and whacking and schwacking them out of the ballpark. I mean, something's got to give there. And if I was going to make a change out of the two, I would start with the pitching coach. And I would get a pitching coach that's going to start teaching these guys how to throw gas and stop this sweeper, off-speed crap. Because it's not working. This is the second year. Last year it worked the first month of the season. Then everybody started catching up to it, and now they're still catching up to it. You got Garrett Crochet, who has, 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and he's throwing breaking balls, and the guys are whacking them out. I mean, stop that. Let the guy utilize his strengths. That's another thing I'd like to see changed. The stuff that these guys are doing is just beyond bizarre. It's out in left field. It's really whacked. I don't. This is the worst stretch of Red Sox baseball I've seen, probably since the early '90s. I mean, this is bad, and it's actually worse. It's worse than that. To be in last place 3 years in a row, and in 4 out of 5 years or whatever, and now we're in fourth place again, should be unacceptable. And all we're getting from the top, again, I think it's the top down. All we're getting, from Sam Kennedy and Breslow is just a bunch of spin nonsense with no real answers. And it's not cutting it. And so I don't see how it's going to get any better. They need to make some real changes there somehow. And, they got to get some bullpen help. They got to get legit bullpen help. Some of the guys they have back there, completely useless. And I'll start with Liam Hendricks. Again, last week, I said he was going to get traded. It didn't happen, but it should, because he spotted off and proceeded to give up. Again, he wanted to be used in a pressure situation. He got used in the extra innings the other day. Gave up a grand slam. They lost the game. He's useless. I would either try to trade him for a handful of rocks, or I would just DFA him and cut him and get rid of him. Get me the next guy from Worcester. I mean, just get somebody else. That's the decisions they got to make. He's making $5 million a year. It's not like he's making $50 million. He's useless. He's garbage. Bye. See you later. And it sucks to have to say that, because, a guy like that will go to the Yankees and pitch lights out against you, because that's just how it works. And then I'll sit here and go, why can't we get guys like that? Because we do that for everybody. So anyway, that's my rant on the Red Sox. I mean, I wish I could play the old Jim Moore clip when he's playoffs. Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. We're just lucky we can win a game. That's how I feel about the Red Sox right now. So, anybody thinks they're making the playoffs right now, it's not looking good. In order for them to get to 92 wins, they have to play 625 baseball. They have to win 65 games out of their next 104. That's a tall task for having a bunch of young guys that are learning on the job. And for them to just get to 88 that I predicted, they have to play 585 ball. They have to win 61 games. So just for them to sniff the wild card, they have to play almost 600 ball. And you're asking a lot for, and something, the team looks out of whack. I mean, the issues that they've had with Devers not wanting to play third, now he doesn't want to play first. Now Bregman's hurt. They're not going to ask him to go play third, his regular position. I mean, then what? Bregman comes back and you ask him to go back to be the DH. No one's going to do that. Right? So he's stuck at DH. That's it. And now Alex Cora has to mix mosh everybody else and make them work around everything to get any kind of semblance of a team. And there's just they're putting too much faith in the young guys. Again, I said it last week. I'll say it again. Anthony Rizzo. I would have been on the horn with him a month ago when Casas was struggling and brought him in and had him go down to Florida, work out, whatever. And then, a month later when Casas is still struggling, you bring him up here. At least he can play defense. And now look what they got. Christian Campbell's playing defense, first base. How's that going to work? Anthony Rizzo would be already on the horn again. I would still call him. You got nothing to lose. What you have isn't working. You have to do something different. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's what they're faced with right now. They can't get different results because they keep doing the same crap over and over again. Okay. Rant over. Watching the time. Let me switch gears now. We're going to talk about the Patriots. Excuse me. I really wish Frank was here for this because anybody that's been paying attention to the news has probably seen or heard about Patriots wide receiver Stephon Diggs. The party boat, so to speak, or whatever, and there was girls all slobbering all over him or whatever, and he had some kind of packet with some kind of excuse me, looked like a pink substance or something with it. And so, look, this has to be, it's a bad look, but everything is, backwards now. Everything is guilty until proven innocent. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt for right now what that whole thing is. Supposedly, the rumors go around and say, well, he was on a boat with Cardi B, his girlfriend, and they were shooting a video or some nonsense and whatever. No one knows what the pink stuff is in the packet. And there's all kinds of commentary about what he said to the girls. And I'm not going to get into any of that because I can't justify anything that was going on there. But, these guys, he's not at OTAs, and apparently, he's been in touch with Vrabel, according to what Vrabel said. He's been in communication with him already. And so look, outside of football, the guys are allowed to do whatever the hell they want, have a life. No one's going to deny them that. I'm certainly not. Do whatever you want. You should be able to go on a boat and do whatever, fish or whatever it is that they do. That's their personal life. That's their thing. It's not any of our business. The problem is somebody made it their business and posted it on social media. And so there should have been a no there for anybody on that boat for them to say, hey, no videoing allowed, no pictures. Certain venues you go with your cell phone and they'll say no pictures allowed, no cell phones allowed, blah blah. And if you do, they take it away. Somebody should have had some foresight there on that boat and said, hey, no pictures, no video, no nothing. We're not allowing that. And if you do, there's going to be ramifications. That's what's going to happen. We're going to sue your ass. I don't know any other way how you diffuse that or prevent it from happening. But, I don't know. Everybody's trying to speculate what the stupid pink stuff is. Pink taco powder. I don't know. Don't try to figure it out. I'm not going to do that. And I don't know how far the Patriots are going to investigate that themselves or the league, may have to get involved. I don't know. And I don't want to see or deal with any of that here because we don't know everything. This is, and I believe Frank would be a proponent of just being like, hey, we don't know all the facts. We don't know everything. We're presuming guilt already before the guy even does anything. And it's not right. And so, you have to give the benefit of the doubt until all the facts come out. And it's unfortunate that he put himself in that kind of a position. Now, again, if there was no video and no one knew any wiser, then everybody's day would go on, his day would go on, nothing would be made out of it. But now, because it's out there and everybody can see, now there's all kinds of speculation, rumors. What's going to happen? Why isn't he the OTAs? Blah blah, the whole 9 yards. And look, like I said, a few minutes ago, the guys are allowed to have a private life and have go party and be on a boat and do whatever. That's their business. It's not my business or anyone else's to say what they're allowed and what they're not allowed to do unless it's in their contract. Like if it says, hey, you're not allowed to ride a motorcycle in your contract, and then you go ride a motorcycle and fall off and get hurt, then you're a dumbass. But in this case, I don't believe that was the case. I don't think he obviously couldn't have had anything in his contract saying you can't be on a boat. It doesn't say who he can be surrounded with, none of that stuff. That's not anybody's business, really. But I think it's unfortunate that, now the team has to look at it, and hopefully it's water under the bridge, and he comes back here, and he's part of the team, and, it's business as usual at some point, and the three-ring circus stops. That's my hope, best case outcome. Of course, people are going to, as soon as he comes back, he's going to have a press conference, or people are going to try to ask questions. And they're still trying to ask questions now, I'm sure, with Vrabel and everybody else. You can't answer them. Until there's an investigation between the Patriots and him, or the league and him. Asking those questions now is stupid. It's pointless. And, it's really just, for clicks or whatever. Like, we're not here to do that. We're here to report, the goings on during the week. I'm not here to try to figure out whether he's guilty or not. I don't, listen, we can have an opinion on whether they're guilty or not. That people have opinions, but I'm not ready for that yet. I don't think it's fair. I want to hear more. I want to see more what the facts are. And, to be determined as far as that goes. Like I said, I just hope that, it's water under the bridge and, nothing major comes from that at all. I'm gonna change gears a little bit and talk more about the OTAs, the voluntary workout program, or whatever it is. Organized team activities. It's voluntary. According to Mike Vrabel, mostly everybody is there. There's a handful of guys that aren't, and it's not a time to really get concerned. unless it was somebody that had like a contract issue. Then, you might frown, but it's still voluntary. So I don't think he's concerned with it. I think as long as he's in contact with everybody, I think he's fine with it. And that's the right approach. It's the right thing to do. Um, I've heard some reports about, Drake May struggling in these OTAs. Remember now, everything is new again. The offense is new. The offensive line is new. The receivers are new. The terminology is going to be new. And so you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. I mean, they're not even in pads. Everything's just in shorts and, T-shirts or whatever. And, everybody was freaking out last week when, he threw 4 interceptions in the first 6 passes. Okay, so what? Get it out of your system now. I'm fine with it. It's not an issue. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, Drake May sucks. Get rid of him. Who's the next guy? Like, no. Back the truck up, slow down, take a breath. It's going to be a struggle. And, to be expected, you should expect this. The defense is going to be ahead of the offense because the guys they brought in are veteran guys. They have familiarity with Vrabel and his coaching staff already. Some of those guys they brought him here for a reason. Here's the system we're going to run, guys. Here's the terminology. Here's what we expect. Okay, I got it. I did this before in Tennessee. So, those guys have an upper hand. They have a leg up already against Drake May and the offensive line. I haven't seen any of this, right? And so you want to say they're at a disadvantage, that's fine, but expect them to struggle. Expect them to be out of sorts. And expect them to struggle through training camp. When they have the joint practices together. Last year, Philadelphia against Drake May, 14 sacks and 15 dropbacks or whatever. I mean, that might happen again. Don't be shocked. Don't be worried and don't be upset about it. This is where, you have you have veteran guys now here. The offense should be in much better hands with Josh McDaniels, guiding the way with these guys. And, there was something made out of, well, Josh Dobbs looked better yesterday than Drake May. Okay, how long has he been in the league? 8, 10 years? How many systems has he played for? The stuff that McDaniels is throwing at him, has he seen any of it already? Maybe he has. And maybe that's why he looked better. But now we're going to start saying, oh, well, he looked better, so he might be the starter, and Drake May is going to struggle. Guys got to put stock in all that stuff. And again, I understand, it's sports radio. They got to have stuff to talk about. They got to be stupid about it, right? But how about no? Drake May's in his second year. You got to expect that he's going to struggle. You got to. That's just the way it is. It's not a shock. It's not a shock to me that he's going to struggle. It's not going to be a shock to me that he's going to struggle in training camp. It's not going to be a shock to me if he struggles in the joint practices. It's not going to be a struggle. It's not going to be a shock to me if he struggles in preseason games. Listen, you gotta expect some bumps along the way. The question is, how does he bounce back from the bumps, the miscues? How does he bounce back from a mistake that's going to happen? And can he correct them and not make them going forward? Make progress, make improvements. And again, I think that, regardless of the system, the guy has talent. I mean, he had 2 new systems coming out of North Carolina and a new system last year with Alex Van Pelt. Now he's got another new system. I mean, to learn a new system should be nothing for him. And I don't mean nothing as in poo-poo it like nothing, but I mean, it's like he should be, okay, challenge accepted. I can do this. Okay, he's talented enough, in my opinion, to be able to make the necessary corrections and get the offense and be able to do stuff. I mean, you know, people make it like, oh, well, he's got a new offensive coordinator and a second year of guys ruined. But yeah, if you're Cleveland and you've had a new quarterback and a new offensive coordinator 3 years in a row, yeah, you look like a bunch of bozos. But to me, this is like, okay, it's Drake May's second year. He's got Josh McDaniels this year. And you know what? He should have Josh McDaniels again next year. And maybe even the year after that, because Josh McDaniels is not likely to get another head coaching job. Okay? So to me, unless the offense completely craps out, like they did with that frickin' Frack at the helm, I don't see Drake May struggling, even like he did last year. And these guys, like to point to the record. Well, he was 1-9 as a starter. So was everybody else. They sucked. It wasn't really his fault that they were losing those games. If anything, he's the only reason they were in any of them. So stop with that crap too. Stop the record. 1-9. That whole team just sucked. So forget that. That's not on Drake May. Trust me. I'm not even going there. That's brutal. That's a brutal assessment of a guy. Well, do we know he can even win at this level? He only had one win. Yeah. None of them won. They all sucked. So it wasn't just him. So I'm sorry. The defense couldn't stop a freaking nosebleed. And every time they got close in a game, the defense gave up big plays. That's not on Drake May. Sorry. So you got to look at the whole picture. You can't just look at, one guy and be like, oh, he was 1-9. No. So now look, with this offense, if they're 1-9 and they're still putting up 13 points a game, okay. After like 4 or 5 games of that, then there's a problem. But I'm not expecting that. They're in better shape, in my opinion. They're in way better shape than that. They should be way more competitive. They should be able to put minimum 20 points on the board. I mean, they should have more games with 20 points this year than they've had over the last 2 years combined, in my opinion. That's how I see it playing out. And Drake May is talented, and so, I have high hopes for him that he's going to have a good year. All right, I got to watch the clock. I have not had a chance to talk about the Celtics yet. We're going to do that now. I don't really have a lot to add since they're in the off season. There's a lot of, and again, I wish Frank was here because he could speak more to it. But everybody knows the Celtics are in the second apron, which means their payroll is going to be like $500 million, and they have to try to trim back because the new owner doesn't want to probably spend that kind of money on the roster and so forth. There's the speculation about who should be traded, who they're going to get traded to. I don't have a lot of those particulars, but I do know that the easy targets to trade are Drew Holiday and Porzingis right off the bat, and probably Sam Hauser, because getting rid of those 3 guys right off the bat would free up a lot of money. Now, unfortunately, again, some of those trades, the money has to kind of be close. The league makes it so that, you can't just offload $30 million to a team for a number 1 draft pick, and that's it. There's stuff that has to happen there. But the most easily rumored guys to be traded are Porzingis and Holiday. They do make the most sense. They have to be able to incorporate young guys. No one knows what Al Horford's going to do yet. But, if you don't have Porzingis, then you need more from Neemias Quater and Luke Cornett. Those guys have to give you more because Al Horford's not going to play 30 to 40 minutes a game. He'll get burned into the ground. Right? And matchup-wise, he can't guard some of the guys at center. They abuse him. And again, I don't have the particulars, but people have seen enough. I've seen enough games where he's at center and they're going around him. It's like, okay, you got to get him out of the game. He can't play defense against these guys. And there's other times where he plays defense and he's blocking shots and he looks like a dynamo, but he's 38 years old. So, again, back to truck up on a guy that's 38 years old. He's going to be 38, 39, whatever. And, 20 minutes maybe can you get out of him? Half a game, not 30, 40. No, not going to work. You got to get more out of the other guys. There's some speculation about, some teams being interested in Jaylen Brown. I saw something about Dallas maybe being interested in him and trading the number 1 pick, Cooper Flagg, who will be Cooper Flagg. He's not drafted yet, but that's the speculation, is that he's going to Dallas. Could they be in the running to trade, Jaylen Brown there? Because they're really missing just a piece, kind of, another veteran leader to go along with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, with the loss of Luka Doncic. With Jason Tatum being out for the whole year, I would not be in favor of trading Jaylen Brown, because you need a guy that's been here, that's a veteran, been in the playoffs, the whole 9 yards. His resume speaks for itself, I think. They would have to get more back, in my opinion, than just one number 1 Cooper Flagg pick. That's, Danny says, Mark Cuban wants Brown. Hey, that's fine. Look, again, when you're dealing with trading the roster or upgrading the roster or reshaping the roster, the only untouchable to me, hurt or not, would be Tatum, and everybody else would be fair game. That's how I would do it, and that includes Brown. And this is not the same thing as a few years ago when everybody wanted to run Jaylen Brown out of town. That's not the case. If it makes sense, both financially and with the return coming back, then you obviously have to listen. You should be on the horn with Dallas, or Dallas calls you and says, hey, we're interested in Jaylen Brown. And we're willing to give up Cooper Flagg and, X number of number 1 picks or another guy to go with, like whatever, however that works out. You're listening because you should. That's a no-brainer. No matter what sport, no matter what team. Again, untouchable for the Bruins, David Pastrnak. Everybody else, you're calling on Jeremy Swayman. Yep, I'm listening. So listening to offers for Jaylen Brown is definitely not a no-no. But it depends on what the return is. They have to get a good enough return. They have to get a haul back in order to trade somebody like him. And then you got to realize that you're going to take your lumps this year without Tatum, because of what you're getting back in return. Excuse me. Ugh. Sorry about that. I'm getting tired. All right. I apologize for the lack of Celtics talk, but we only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to wrap up the show. We're going to move on to the poll questions, or in this case, for this particular week, lack thereof, because I fell asleep at the wheel and didn't put any up. Ned's tired, yeah. So I apologize for that. We will definitely have some questions this week. There's a lot going on now. Not that there isn't, but I kind of boo-booed there, so we'll move forward with that. Predictions for last week. Typical negative Ned. Negative Ned said that Liam Hendricks is going to get traded. Wrong again. What else is new? No surprise. That was my only prediction. Frank's predictions, he said that the Red Sox would make a splash other than the first base situation. Wrong. They didn't really do anything. They need to, and I would agree with him that they need to make some moves. We'll move along to the rest of his predictions, and then I'll circle back and I'll make some. He said the Bruins would have a new head coach in place, completely out of left field. Nobody saw it coming. Wrong. They haven't done that just yet, But again, we'll leave that prediction because that's probably going to happen sooner rather than later. You know, I don't think I'm going to be happy with the choice, no matter who it is, unless it's Mitch Love. So stay tuned for that. He said the Patriots still have more splash, whatever that is. You know, still to be determined. And he said the Celtics won't do anything. Ding, ding, ding. He was right. You know, they're not going to do anything now because the NBA playoffs are still going on. Everybody's quiet. There's really nothing to do yet. I don't believe. I think there's a excuse me. I believe there's a you know, like everyone else. There's a free agent signing period. There's a trade period. There's all kinds of stuff. The draft is coming up again next month. The NBA draft is coming. So not that they excuse me. Not that they couldn't do anything before the draft and make a trade and trade some picks and whatnot before the draft. That can certainly happen, but I don't see it. So we'll hold that too. Okay. Let's move on to this week's predictions. I'm going to say that Trevor Story is going to get benched this week, coming up at some point, for at least 1 or 2 games. Beyond that, you know, there's a lot of talk about, you know, just outright making him a free agent, you know, DFA him. I don't see that. They'd have to eat way too much money to do that, but I could definitely see him sitting for a game or 2. They got to do something. I mean, his bat is nothing's working there. So I'll have that for prediction. I'm gonna go outside the box. I'm gonna be wrong, but I'm gonna say Mitchell Love is the coach, not Marco Sturm, even though he's the front runner. I'm gonna throw that up for a prayer and say it's Mitch Love. And I think that they're gonna do something with the pitching staff. I'm going to keep the Hendricks prediction as trade or release, one or the other. That's going to happen this week. They just can't keep putting him out there, even in junk situations. He's just not worth it, in my opinion. I wouldn't be sad to see him leave. And I'm going to add this. I think that they are going to make, you know, maybe, you know, along what Frank had. He said they were going to make a splash other than first base. I think it's going to be relief because they have to help the bullpen. It's getting too taxed. So I don't know how they do it, but the splash that he's talking about will be a reliever. It won't be a first base person. It won't be a lineup thing. And actually, I'll say this too. This will be another prediction. I think Roman Anthony's getting called up this week. I think Nick Sogard or Toro, they're going back to Worcester. And you're going to see Roman Anthony here next week playing in the outfield, get his bat in the lineup because they don't have a choice. And they run the risk of falling way too far behind if they don't make that move sooner rather than later. So I got a slew of predictions out there now. I'll clean them up for next week. That's the show, everybody. I want to thank you all for the comments. Thank you for tuning in. Danny and Denise, I saw you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your help. And thanks for your comments. Thanks for voting in the polls. Be sure to tune in next week. I'm sure there's going to be more more Red Sox drama, among other things. And be sure to catch us on YouTube. And we'll see you all next week.